here we are. We are in week 2 of interpersonal communication. Welcome back. Last week, you started by focusing on workplace communication in discussions. Many of you talked about your experiences in the workplace, which was very constructive for the conversation. A lot of you related your experiences about management, which is very much related to interpersonal communication, all right? Which in very lively discussion last week. This week, we're looking a bit closer about how communication is involved with one's own self-identity and one's own self-concept. Okay, and then we're also going to be looking at issues of perception. Okay, that's chapters 2 and 3 of your text. In part, when we're communicating, we're always, in a way, performing. We're performing all kinds of things like our identity, okay, our expertise, and so on. So, with that being said, with interpersonal communication, you have to think about communication as something more complex than just data or information moving from point A to point B or moving down a wire, right? There's something much more complex going on with communication, both on the side of the sender, in terms of our self-identity, in terms of our self-concept, in terms of performance, but also on the other side with the perception of interpersonal communication. There's all kinds of cultural variation that goes into perceiving messages, right? We have stereotypes and all kinds of ideological constructs we're using. Okay, so communication is not just about transmitting information. It's much more complex than that, okay? Now, since this course is focused on organizations and workplaces, we look at ways that an organization can constrain communication, right? And constrain the expression of your own self-concept and so on. Okay, and also another theme that is running through this course is social media. Think about how social media can both constrain interpersonal communication, but also how identity becomes very fluid on social media. And what are the implications of that, right? You can project a different version of yourself on social media, and no one else has the nonverbal cues and the context cues to add to that, right? So in a way, it gives you some freedom to play around with your identity a little bit, okay? But in what ways does online communication also constrain self-expression and interpersonal communication, right? So those are the themes that are running through the course. This week you do have a written assignment. Make sure that you're doing the readings before engaging in the discussion and before doing your written assignment, okay? Also, be thinking now about your portfolio. Go to week 8. Look at the 2 options that you have for your project, right? And also look at the rubrics. The rubrics are very easy to see. They're right underneath the explanations and the instructions. And I follow the rubric fairly closely. And the rubric is also a guide for you to show you what I'm looking for in your work. Okay, so pay close attention to those. Think about it early. Next week you will have something to turn in for your portfolio. So think about it early. Okay, and try to choose one of those options, and maybe even look into the peer-reviewed article databases and do some searches for different articles. All right. Once again, get back to me if you have any questions about the content or about your portfolio, and I can be available. All right. And once again, have a great and productive week.